So, if you've been traumatized by sparring, I'm truly sorry that that happened. Coach Nick here, and we're going to talk about being traumatized through hard sparring or sparring in general. So, every now and then I'll get a guy who comes in and he was introduced by sparring hard right off the bat. So, what I like to equate this to is if somebody set up a chessboard in front of you, you're not sure how to play, there's somebody else who does know how to play, and then you begin to play the game of chess. Every time you move a piece or don't move a piece, he punches you in the face. Okay, so is that going to teach him how to play chess? No. Is he going to get good at chess before he gets busted up? Probably not. So the way that I like to go about sparring is we start slow, we start light. So when I first introduce somebody to sparring, I call it turn-based sparring. I throw a combination at your guard, and then you throw a combination at my guard. We start to move around, and as this becomes cleaner and cleaner, we start to do touch sparring. So my objective is to touch you in the forehead or the belly button, the body, and we move and move. It's really effective with the kids, and this way we are able to do touches to the head without risk of injury or traumatization. So what I mean by trauma is this will show up in a few different ways. You'll see somebody who gets really tight and starts flinching, and you know immediately that their nerves and everything is going through the roof. And a person like that can't control their power. And when somebody can't control their power, now it's a fight. So start light, start moving, and the movement is huge. Again, even if you're light sparring and you see someone start doing this, you immediately are going to think that they're going to punch you hard, and then it ramps up. And then again, that turns into a fight. The other thing that I see is as soon as somebody starts sparring, they'll get that clinch, and then every time something comes at their face, they're overreacting to everything. So again, with the turn-based sparring, you get comfortable raising your arms and taking those punches that are coming towards you. And in a similar fashion, you get comfortable throwing the punches at them, and everyone's safe and everyone, progresses. You get to work your footwork, and then we get into touch. The touch is a little bit more dynamic. We're actually moving, we're trying to get it around. Everything's thrown super controlled and with a rhythm and a tempo that's not scary to anyone. So touch, 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 and then you go a little step further where you start actually touching and trying to get around the guard and into the body, but with very, very, very little power. The only people that I prefer to actually spar and ramp things up with are the people that I've sparred with for months, because we have a trust that's been established. I know if you hit me in the face, even if my guard drop, you're not going to drop me, right? So, things can happen, right? If I move in while you're coming through. But if you've sparred with somebody long enough, those situations are very unlikely to happen. I have a video on the channel of me and Dylan sparring. We've been sparring for almost 4 years now. And you can see how it's just kind of light and playful. We're both practicing our technique. So if you've been traumatized by sparring, I'm truly sorry that that happened. It's one of the hardest things to break when you come in, to break that natural shell up or run away instinct. And if you were introduced to sparring improperly, it's going to take some work. Spending hours, and I mean hours in front of, just like any trauma, you got to work through it. Spending hours in front of somebody that you trust as you touch spar. And obviously, if you're getting ready for a competition, you're on a different level. You can ramp up, add the headgear and that sort of thing. But when you're first starting sparring, please go super, super light to each other, to the point where it almost looks like you're playing patty cake. As you build that trust with the people around you and the gym, you can start ramping up accordingly and have that open dialogue. It's very difficult to tell somebody else to go a little bit lighter, but you're going to have to do it. The other piece to this is find a good gym, because some gyms, they don't do light sparring. They just go at it. Every time you spar, it's a fight. More so in the previous generations than now. When the UFC was first coming out, there was a lot of gyms that their idea of sparring was fighting. You can also see a little bit more on the boxing end is a little bit rougher than typically kickboxing or Muay Thai. If you look at the way that the Thais do it, they play, right? They play, they play, they play. They call it play sparring, play fighting. And really they're just looking to practice their techniques, movement, dynamic, and because nobody needs to take damage in sparring. If you're getting ready for a fight, professional fighting, that's a completely different story. But again, for you beginners, please take it slow, take it easy, and you'll stay on the mats for years. I'll see you guys in the next one.